Hello. So I'll just give it a second. So we're just doing another live Q&A. Just to obviously help guys that have been doing the training course and give them some insights and tips, and obviously the option to do some questions and answers or get their questions answered. So make sure that you do go through the live chat and ask any questions that you may have, and I'll do this for the next hour as long as there's enough questions to carry on for that length of time. But I can see we've already got Muaz Qureshi in there. Let us know who else is out there. Itamar, good to see you. Rishi Thacker, Ryan Houghton, good to see you guys. So as I say, just doing a question and answer session for guys who signed up to the free course. Whether it's a very basic question or whether you want to ask something more specific, this is your opportunity to go for it. So Deepika, you're here as well. Good to see you, my man. But I'll start off anyway with Muaz Qureshi's question. How to outreach high authority niche sites to get surely response? You can't guarantee a response, Muaz. That comes down to the quality of your pitch and whether you're actually pitching to the right people. Using tools like Pitchbox, it pulls the emails for you, but it all comes down to the quality of your pitch. Are you saying something interesting that's going to capture the person's attention? That is the most important thing. And what I would also say is it's the follow-up sequence where most people get the conversion. So make sure your follow-up sequence is on point as well. How to do that? There's tons of videos out there with people giving you examples of their outreach templates. And as I say, using the right tool to do follow-up sequence, whether it's a low-cost thing you're doing with Mailshake or whether you're using the all singing, all dancing Pitchbox, either one, you have to make sure that that automatic follow-up sequence is not done to irritate people, because very easily with the wrong email, with the wrong, with the wrong kind of automation sequence, you can actually annoy people. So there is no guarantees to get a response. It all comes down to how aggressive or soft or how good your pitch is. You've also asked, we are unable to find broken links in the Wayback Machine. Is there other way to get archive stuff? Not sure what you mean by broken links, but you can go to Ahrefs and they have a broken link checker, and that has the most amount of data. It all comes down to the tool's data. But if I'm looking for broken links to do some broken link building or potentially find links to articles that are maybe no longer there, if you're trying to get the content, then using the Ahrefs for that is probably your best bet, rather than manually going through the Wayback Machine, because that is pain in the backside. It's a long-winded job. So yeah. Deepika, can I become expert in digital marketing concepts? Because I'm not much interested in marketing, like market research, sales. Of course, you don't have to be interested in sales to become a good SEO or a social media marketer or whatever you want to be. You just have to make sure that you're clever enough to hire those round about you to fill in those gaps, because as part of any great SEO or social media marketer, they have a team round about them, and someone somewhere is going to have to do market research, and someone is also going to have to do sales and talk to clients. So surrounding yourself with the right team and building the right team round about the weaknesses that you've got, because we all can't be good at everything, is the best way to kind of build up your business. I hate certain parts of business life in general, and I've got someone who fills those gaps, and that's just the clever thing to do, because I certainly won't be doing everything, put it that way. So someone's got to earn their keep and got to delegate, and I think that's the key part. Cheers, Itamar, for the advice. So, do profile backlinks still work and can be pointing to articles instead of the base website URL? You can send them to wherever you like. Most profile backlinks are not that great. It's not a strategy that I'd be all out on doing a lot of stuff on. They still can drive traffic. Some of them do still carry a little bit of power, but it's not a strategy that I'd be all out on. I think profile backlinks are something that people have abused in the past, and they don't really pass a whole lot of weight unless you get a kind of new forum or whatever it's going to be. Of course, it can still pass weight, but certainly there's better ways to build links than just focusing on that. So, himank, where to learn SEO strategies? Go onto my YouTube channel. There's lots of videos on there, and I'm always adding to those videos different strategies. I obviously can't tell you that and the answer to that in a question, because there's strategies behind everything. But there's a lot of work, not even just in my YouTube channel. There's many SEO guys out there, and that's something that you want to make sure you do a bit more of, is learning. There's tons of information out there. Rishi, when we want to target the same site with different countries, what method do you prefer? Subdomain or each country different domain? Listen, you can see both of those working, but what I would always, just in my own personal headspace, I would look at someone like Amazon, and they have different domains for each country. And I think, following the big boys who are doing things properly just means it's cleaner, tidier, and just works more effectively, in my opinion. Hi, AG Moore. Jennifer, good to see you here. Do you think podcasts being a contributor on one helps with SEO? Yes and no. Being in a podcast just itself is not going to do anything for your SEO, but obviously driving traffic to a particular website or a page on a website, is certainly going to help, because driving traffic or engagement signals also help your SEO. It's not just about content and links. There are other things that people use, bots, for click-through rate manipulation and all that kind of stuff. But rather than using bots, appearing in podcasts or making videos or, anything like that can indirectly help your SEO, if you're forcing traffic and engagement through to, obviously, if it's the Surex website or whatever, Jennifer, then yeah, or if it's a specific podcast about one of the insurances that you guys do, then 100% it will indirectly help your SEO and drive traffic to your business. And obviously that's what you want to do, is try and do a bit of SEO, a bit of social media, a bit of paid stuff, and anything else you can do to drive traffic, for an hour's worth of your time. You can certainly drive a whole bunch of people to your product or service. So definitely do it. Elton, good to see you here. Would you send the same blog comment links to every tier 2 site, or every tier 2 site needs different links? I would mix it all up, Elton. There's enough blog comments out there for you to be able to mix that stuff up. I think if you were starting to send the same blog comments, you're going to start to leave a pattern and a footprint, and I think that's a surefire way to getting yourself into bother. So I would try and avoid that, Elton, if I possibly could, and just mix it up. I think there's enough opportunities out there for you to mix your blog commenting strategy, and do it that way. Just mix it up. Nothing wrong with that. Himank, I did mention that you can look at other channels and stuff like that. So have a look at other people's channels. They will give you more ideas on strategy. If you've got a question, by all means, I can answer it, but I can't just give you an overall SEO strategy on a question and answer session. It's not the purpose of the session, unfortunately. So if you want to learn, you can go onto my YouTube channel. There is a lot of information on there. Unfortunately. But we have to make sure that you're asking specific questions, because it's just no good what you're asking there and repeatedly asking it. So just watch videos and try and learn for yourself, and then come back with some questions. Deepika, what are the concepts that a 2 years experienced digital marketing executive should know for sure? To be honest, I can't answer that, because everyone's at different stages and everyone's learning curves are at different stages. 2 years into your job, you should pretty much be able to do everything, or understand most concepts of digital marketing. 2 years is a long time. Now, obviously, after your learning curve, you've got then experience and fine-tuning the processes and everything else that you do. But 2 years, I would expect you to know pretty much everything there is to know within the industry. You might not know all in great detail, and you might not be that experienced in every single aspect of it, but 2 years is a long time in this game, and 2 years is enough time to get up to a reasonable speed. That is for sure. Ryan Houghton, just chatting up people in here. Christina, except broken link strategy, can you please mention any other strategy to get free backlinks? I mean, there's the link building trick. There is, I mean, there's no such thing as free backlinks, you know, unless you're going to go and submit to directories manually, or go to forum profiles or do blog commenting manually. There is no such thing as free backlinks. You know, even if you're doing outreach, there's always a cost, whether it's for software, whether it's for the cost for the admin to add your link to that. You know, most strategies are going to involve a cost of some description, whether it's for a tool, you know, like SEO autopilot, you know, it costs you per month to build a whole bunch of Web 2.0s. Now, you can go and build a whole bunch of Web 2.0s yourself. You can do parasite SEO, like setting up a medium and putting content on there, and then, you know, using that as a link building resource. That's a free way to do it. But the purpose of these tools is to do it at scale and you know, take away the grunt work, if you like. And I think if you want to look at free, then you're always going to be limiting your options and always doing grunt work. So I think, you know, broken link building, directory listings, and all the kind of usual link building strategies that you can do, you can also do outreach manually for free without using any tools. But obviously the conversion rate of that is very, very low. You can try and, you know, hustle people for links or whatever. But in most cases, money talks. And I think I can't really give you a strategy to get free backlinks as such, other than being deceptive to people, you know, like the link building trick, which you'll find on my YouTube channel and stuff like that. And obviously I don't want to encourage you to be deceptive, but you would have to be creative in your thinking to trick people into giving you a link if you have no money to be able to spend on it. But if you're doing it for clients or whatever, I would just be spending money on the right tools and the right processes to be able to do that. And as Stephen Buchanan says there at the bottom, Harrow, help a reporter out is a free way to build backlinks. That is something else you can do. But again, you're going to have to write the content and do a lot of grunt work. So there are loads of ways where you can get links for free. You know, even just pitching PR articles. You know, if the pitch is right, then of course you can get some links. So, yeah, hopefully that helps you in some way. Shaun Little, wrong page is ranking for a keyword. How do I switch the ranking to the right page? I hate saying it, but it depends. Now, I've actually got an instance where someone's asking me that today, of all days. And what I did suggest is that they just do a canonical to the main page. That's the whole purpose of a canonical tag, just to basically say, hey, this is the main page for this particular keyword. However, it's a very niche specific keyword, and if you find that you've got 2 pages ranking, but the secondary page still ranks for a whole bunch of other search terms, then what I would be looking at is trying to de-optimize one of the pages for that given keyword. Just try and take any instances of it out, because I don't want to just say a canonical, boom, that's your fix, because that might not be the right answer for you. So if it is a case of both pages rank for a bunch of other keywords as well, then a canonical is not the solution. It would be trying to de-optimize, one of the pages. It's a kind of fiddly process, but it really depends on the situation you're in. But normally a canonical tag is there to basically say to Google, this is the main page about this kind of search term, job done. So hopefully that answers your question. If not, let me know a bit more in detail. Mark Flanighan, I know you don't use auto traffic drivers to improve CTR engagement, but if you did, what would they use? UK traffic. You can use micro workers, which you can select people from the UK. If you're wanting to do that, again, use paid Facebook ads. You can do that. You can also use tools like ctrbooster.com, but you would need proxies behind that, and I would get UK-based proxies, which is going to make it look like UK traffic, but obviously it's bots. There's tons out there, but what I would do is try and use low-cost paid ads to try and make sure that engagement and everything is kind of real, and they're clicking through and watching and clicking about and all that stuff. So I think like micro workers and whatnot are the best at doing that. But as I say, I've got a whole bunch of phones and all that kind of stuff I use to do that stuff as well. So it's that is the best I can answer for there. Javin, can you give a shout out to my friend Lavismo Timo? Shout out done. I know you said he has cancer, so sorry to hear that news, and hopefully they recover from that. Houssam Eddine, how to measure keyword difficulty. You've got the likes of SEMrush or Ahrefs or whatever that kind of give you a score in terms of keyword difficulty. I don't always just go by that particular score. Normally I would be looking at the backlink profile to any given page to determine whether that's something that I can actually rank for. But yeah, it's entirely up to you. You can use the tools. I always look at the backlink profile and stuff like that, and obviously the engagement a page is getting as well. Just a rough estimation will give you an idea of how many links you need to build and what kind of engagement you might also have to kind of imitate or whatever. And hopefully that helps you. Side zeehan, is AMP going to be a big thing? I think AMP has come and gone. It's not a big thing, in my opinion. A lot of news websites and stuff like that have implemented it, and that's probably the type of website that would benefit from AMP, but it's not something I would be focusing too much time on if you were doing client work. What is the right way to use an SEO tool, Houssam? And depends on what tool you're referring to. There's lots of guides on YouTube for all of these tools, and they will normally give you an idea of how to use them. And that's something that every tool I know of has out there, and you would want to make sure that you're using the tools to the best of their ability. So make sure that you do some research on it, and and just understand how the tools work and what it is they're actually doing. So that is the best advice I can give you on that. But obviously, tool specific, it's very hard to say. I've got a whole bunch of stuff in SEMrush on my YouTube channel as well, if that's the tool of choice. But there you go. Andy, good to see you. What tool do I use for the responding content? Can you explain what you mean by that, Andy? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. For the responding content. Cool. MJ. When building out links, how long does it normally take to see these links in tools like Ahrefs? At the moment, Ahrefs can probably take 6 to 8 weeks to start to pull that stuff through, mainly because sometimes the data is a little bit behind. Some pull through faster than others, but and in certain instances, when you're building out links, they don't always appear on those tools as well. They only show kind of snippet of them, so sometimes you may miss a couple. And you meant respinning, Andy. So what tool do I use for respinning? The Spinner Chief is probably the one that I use. It's an old one, but it's probably the most efficient one. You've got Woolley AI and stuff like that, but the people will tell you mixed bags of experiences on that. But it depends on what you're spinning it for. If it's just for link building purposes and guest posts and stuff, then the Spinner Chief does the job. If it's for anything else, then obviously I would just get a VA to write it. If it's for something that someone's actually going to read. But yeah, I would say use the Spinner Chief for that one. David Holgate, good to see you, man. Do you think blog posts on an affiliate site should be used to support money product pages or to rank in their own right to sell a product, or a mixture of both? Probably a mixture of both, David. They are there obviously to support product pages, but obviously some of those blog posts will be going after long tail keywords and will be aiming to rank in their own right to sell a product, just for a longer tail keyword or whatever. So it probably would be a mixture of both for that reason. I don't really, every blog post is done with a purpose, and that purpose is always to rank well for a long tail keyword or something. And I would certainly be, definitely doing a mixture of both if it was me. Tanish, you give more preference to on or off page. I don't give any preference to either or as such. I think they're both equally as important. I think you've got to start with your on page and make sure that you're not even just on page and off page. You've obviously got technical and everything else to consider as well. So you've got to make sure that, first of all, you've got a technically sound structure to work on, fast loading, looks good and all that stuff. Then you're on page, and obviously any kind of calls to action and everything else have got to be on point. Otherwise, what's the point in doing off page and doing your link building to rank well and all that stuff? So I certainly wouldn't give anyone more preference than the other. I think they're all equally as important and equally all continue to get fine-tuned as you go as well. So the answer, if a client came to me and needed really good content and tons of it, if you're asking me what percentage of their budget would I spend on off page and on page, if they had a lot of content, probably 50-50. If they needed a lot of content, it could be 60-40 in favour of content. If they don't need a lot of content, it could be 70-30 in favour of off page. So it really depends on the website. But I think with every website, freshness of content is important. And obviously there's so many other keywords you can be looking to strive to rank for. So both equally as important. Andy Woolley, Any value in creating ebooks, infographics, or downloadable PDFs for an affiliate site? Not something I've personally tried. It's always just been the content and links model for that. An ebook or infographics could potentially get more links, but it's just not really a strategy that I personally tried. I don't think it can really go that wrong. It's just how well would something like that work? Because it's just an affiliate site, it's not going to be hugely interesting. I think creating an infographic around social media or something, gets a wee bit more traction than you maybe trying to get traction for, selling a pencil or something like that. So I'm not sure of that strategy for an affiliate site, but I think the potential's there that it could work. It's just how, what is the ROI on such a strategy? Is it really going to be worth the time and effort to do that in terms of what you get, from a link building perspective or whatever? Side, is anchor text variation important for internal linking? Yes, you want to make sure that you do mix that up. Try and keep it semi-relevant where possible. Well, keep it semi-relevant, full stop. But yeah, mix it up. You do not want to be spammy. Try and, use your brand and use various other stuff. Use generic anchors, whatever, as well as obviously some keyword-specific anchors. So yeah, mix it all up, mate. Mark, how much do you think engagement is country-specific, i.e. if I use paid ads in India, how much of an effect on UK traffic versus India traffic? I mean, obviously, if you get Indian traffic, it's going to make your website look more important in the Indian SERPs. I would try, if you're fully focused on the UK, to try and get traffic from that country-specific and IPs and that country-specific. I know I've mentioned previously that I personally used India to get low-cost engagement, but, I'm also looking to rank well in India and, across the world. So having that, for me, is important. Now, if it was for a builder or something in London, is Indian traffic really going to move the needle? Probably not. I think Google are clever enough to see IPs and stuff. So I would try to force that engagement through UK IP addresses where possible, and obviously just simply target the UK or London specifically, or wherever the location is, and drive traffic that way. Can you make video tutorials on using tools like Scrapebox, GSA, and SEO Autopilot? Yes, I'm going to do that. I do have some plans for SEO Autopilot. Not so sure about Scrapebox because I'm not sure the demand's there in terms of people using it, but Scrapebox for sure. And I've also got a nice guide on it, but it's a blog post if you Google Scrapebox tutorial. But I have been meaning to make a video on these to show you how to use them for the multiple things they can be used for. So for sure I will do that. It is on the to-do list. Deepika, can we start a blog with WordPress without having coding knowledge? 100% you can. Again, get someone round about you who's better at WordPress than you to do it, and then you simply go in and add content and stuff like that. So you don't have to have coding knowledge. There also is enough drag and drop templates out there that you can use to build a nice looking website. For example, Elementor, great drag and drop tool, or just hire a freelancer to do it really well for you, and then from there you're just adding the content and the videos and the images. MG, when analysing your competitors' backlinks, should you only look at the do follow links or treat do follow and no follow links equally? I would probably, I'm not going to say treat them equally, but if there's a great no follow link on there, I look at my competitor and I go, he's got that, I want that. And whether it's a follow or a do follow or a no follow, it really depends. If it's a no follow link that's going to drive decent traffic in, I would treat it the same as a do follow link. And you've also got that argument where people are saying, does actually a no follow link pass any juice? And a lot of people seem to think it does, regardless. So you've also got that argument to counter. But I think, you know, a perfectly natural backlink profile will have an element of do follow and no follow. What I'd be looking for from a no follow though is some kind of engagement to come through there or something. It's got to be worth my while. There's no point in just having a no follow link on something that no one is ever going to see. I want some traffic from it or something. Otherwise, it's not worth my while having that. So guys, we are keeping up with the questions. So if you do have other questions, make sure you do put them in the chat. Also, if you can give my YouTube channel a little like and subscribe if you haven't already, I would very much appreciate that. Andy, do you use the skyscraper technique to build content and reinforce with canonicals to the main landing page? Skyscraper technique, yes and no. You know, do I use it myself? Kind of, but not. You know, not the skyscraper technique that everyone's talking about. You know, I think when you're building content, you've got to just build enough content to target the keywords, and you know, you don't want to be reinforcing anything with canonicals as such. You know, because if you're using canonicals, you're basically saying you've written the same content, but you want another page, you know, the other page is the master copy for that particular content. And I don't see that as being a massive use of your time. You know, for me, the skyscraper technique, people have been talking about it for the past couple of years, and I don't really look at it. I just think adding, you know, find keyword gaps and just blog about it, and you know, forget about these kind of skyscraper techniques and all these kind of fiddly wee things, because they're all just ways of people putting out stuff out there that, you know, it's hard to say it doesn't work, because people will argue that it does and they'll show results from it. But is it actually that technique that's working, or is it just throwing enough shit at the wall and it sticks? And some of it sticks. And I think that's pretty much what happens with the skyscraper technique. So, you know, what I tend to do is build pages, and then I build, you know, supporting content round about them, which may also, you know, overlap in some ways. And if I find that does happen, then I will obviously reinforce it with canonicals. But the job for me is to try and get a number of supporting articles around any kind of pillar post to try and catch a whole bunch of long tail stuff. That is why I'm doing it. But sometimes there is an overlap, or sometimes Google prefers a page, or, you know, or whatever. And you know, that's where you have to maybe use canonicals. But that's how I would do it. I don't really go for, you know, some of the stuff that people are suggesting out there when they're using the skyscraper technique. I think a lot of it is just waffle and terminology, and you know, people making up things to make themselves seem as if they're doing something different from the rest of us. But that's my opinion on it. Fayaz, any tip when taking links from PBN guest posts? Should we avoid these blogs that have zero traffic? 100%. You know, one of the checks that I do when I'm looking to get a backlink would be to get a link from a website that, of course, does have some nice domain metrics. And secondly, I want to see that blog actually does rank for keywords and does get traffic. I think that's and the reason for that is because you can manipulate DR. So I could sell you a DR60 link, and you know, what is DR? You know, and I've done a test on this with a domain name, Insurance Repairs Glasgow, which was an old lead gen website of mine. Had it for around 10 years. It's got tons of content on it, and I've manipulated the DR on it. Did manipulating the DR improve the rankings or traffic? Absolutely not. So manipulating DR doesn't do anything, doesn't really increase rankings, doesn't really increase traffic. So you could basically buy a DR60 that actually is just a piece of crap. So that's why I'm always looking for ones that do have traffic, real websites effectively. So hopefully that answers your question. Tanish, if we have a high domain authority domain and high trust flow, will it help get good ranking? Yes, it will. I mean, it's not the only thing. You know, the content's got to be good. It's got to be targeted. But you have to build good domain authority up, and it's a good indicator that your website's heading in the right direction, and will obviously help you some way to go and to get better ranking. So 100%. What is my age? What age do I look? No one be cheeky here. I probably open myself up for some abuse. But yeah, what age do I look? We'll go for that. But keep your questions coming, guys. I am out of questions. So make sure that you don't be shy. Ask whatever you want within SEO reason, and I will answer them as honestly as I possibly can. And don't forget to give me a little like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Where do I live? I live in a place called Glasgow in Scotland. Some more questions coming through. I am from the UK, Glasgow, Scotland. For you people who are asking, I live there too. MJ, you live in Glasgow. Whereabouts in Glasgow? Either 301 or 404. Age equals 301 or 404. I probably look about 404. All the stress I've had, but there you go. What is my feelings on leveraging functionality versus speed? So I always use the CDN. I'm hosted with WPX Hosting, who've got their own CDN. I think obviously trying to get speed is important. Is it important to get rid of functionality to improve speed? Absolutely not. I think, as long as a website's loading fairly quickly, and when I say fairly quickly, up to 2 seconds is probably enough in most cases. For me, would I lose functionality to try and get that down by another second or whatever? Absolutely not. So I think people can go way over the top, and people say, but speed is important. Is there any difference between 1.7 seconds and 1.2 seconds? Do you think Google's really going to make a huge difference in your rankings because of 0.5 seconds or whatever? I think absolutely not. So I think functionality is important as well, within reason. Again, we've always got people who've got functionality they don't need, but it's just getting that balance right. And I certainly wouldn't be cutting everything away for speed. So MJ is from Clydebank. MJ, is that even your real initials? Are you Robert Scott? I think he's an SEO from Clydebank. I'm trying to think who else is from Clydebank. Do I actually know you, is the question. Who am I? Just a guy talking about SEO. What do I do? I do SEO. Some bizarre questions that you get. I'm just removing that person. David Oggy, long time no speak. Which metric, if any, do you think is the most accurate? Ahrefs DR, Moz, blah, 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 blah. And I don't look at the over 60. Thank you. You're always full of compliments, Mr. Oggy. Personally, I look at Ahrefs DR, not because I think it's the most accurate as such, mainly because most link builders and all that kind of stuff use it. I used to always use Majestic's trust flow and citation flow, but I think just with most link builders, they always just talk in DR terms, and just got to kind of follow suit. But yeah, thanks for the compliment there. Don't look at the over 60. Tut, tut, tut. Ashton Lobo, how do you tier link building in low competition niches? Ashton, do you even need to do tier link building in low competition niches? The answer is you sometimes don't have to. Low competition niches, just a couple of links is sometimes enough to rank well. So I don't always use tiered link building in low competition niches. It's just more in more competitive markets where you might want to power up some of your guest posts or whatever, just to give them a little bit extra power. So yeah, I wouldn't use them in low competition. Doing the bare basics, content and some links alone should help you. By all means, if you feel that you need to power up some of your links, by all means, just do a tiered link building blast at some of your guest posts or Web 2.0s or whatever you've got. Please tell, man, I don't know what is going on. So back to the questions. Do I use Bitcoins or any other crypto? I use Bitcoins to pay for some tools now and again because the tool providers determine that that's what we're going to do. I started my meetup soon. Hopefully, Andy, just have to wait to see what's happening up here. Literally, the pub's only opened on Wednesday, just past the 17th. So people are still scared to even go to the pubs and stuff. So it'll probably be September or something before we even consider it. Hopefully, listen, I'm buzzing to get out and about and meet people. I'm dying, climbing the walls and sitting, having to do things like this. And it'd be great to do them in person and, over beers and having a lot of fun. So hopefully in September, mate, things start to come back to normal and we can start doing meetups, but not in the the next couple of weeks or anything like that. Where is your meetup again, Andy? Is it you're in Swansea? Is that right? Or I can't remember. I think you are in Swansea or down that neck of the woods. Mark Johnston. Cool. No worries. I just was curious to know if I had known of you or we'd spoke before. So that is all good. David Oggy, yes, it would be good to catch some beers sometime again soon, mate. So much for your going to all these events and with a purpose of maybe laying on some events, and we've had a year like this, David. So hopefully you can get some stuff back on the road or back up and running in the near future. Andre, is a low DR10 domain with contextual do follow links from DR60 newspapers any good? I mean, if it had links from DR60 newspapers, I would expect that DR to be slightly higher. But yeah, if it's got a good backlink profile, then grab it. It might only be one or two you've got there, and that's why the DR sitting at 10. But essentially, when I'm looking at an expired domain name, what I'm looking for is something with a bit more substance to it, to be honest. Ashton, if I'm ranking in the second page and I want to get on the first page, what are possible things I should do after I've updated the content again? Build more links. Run your content through something like Surf for SEO or POP. Make sure it is as good as it can be, and it is obviously up there in terms of length and everything else that on-page SEO is in comparison with the competition. Build some more links, try and get some engagement onto it, and I think sometimes the click-through rate or CTR engagement will give you that notch up onto page one. So give those a little bash and see where it goes. Do you think having a high level of no follow links versus follow can affect trust, even though they're supposed to be ignored? It's not something I've actually tested, to be honest, Mark, in terms of what happens if you get a whole bunch of no follows. I suppose it probably could affect trust to some degree. I know they're supposed to be ignored, but are they ignored is the real question there. And, you know, somebody's building a whole bunch of no-follow links. Is it going to have a positive or negative impact? You know, I think not something I've tried, but common sense would tell me that it would probably impact the trust and maybe have a negative impact on your website, but I could be completely wrong. Tanish, when am I coming to India? I have no plans at the moment to come to India, but you never know. Once this pandemic's over, I may get back out there if someone allows me the opportunity to come. And Swansea, I knew Andy. I don't normally forget, but you also remind me of another guy who also talks on LinkedIn all the time. So I was just double checking. Raj Trivedi, are you seeing any fluctuations in the rankings for the last few days? I have heard people saying that. I've not personally seen anything, but I have had people asking the question, are you seeing any fluctuations? Not sure what that update's about yet, if there is any. Oggy, Babs wants to know, what's your main priority for a new site to establish the best foundation for SEO ranking? What's my main priority? I mean, the best foundation, content, you know, I think you've got to start with a fast-loading, clean website that has a whole bunch of content on there, and that will certainly take you a fair distance, and then obviously from there it's just link building and everything else. But yeah, I think just having a good solid website with some decent content on it is always a great starting point. Raoul, what's your view on buying links and what do you keep in mind while buying? So buying links is fine. You know, lots of people sell guest posts and all that kind of stuff, or niche edits or whatever they're doing. What do I keep in mind while buying? So I'm looking at the amount of links that particular website has. You don't want something that's, you know, literally getting tens of thousands of links placed on it per day. So something that's not been spammed to death, something that has decent domain authority, something that does have real traffic and rankings. But, you know, mainly it's just something that's not basically being sold to every other Tom, Dick and Harry. You know, I want something unique with a bit of power that not everyone else has. That's what I'm looking for anyway. What parameters to look at while buying guest posts? Platforms you recommend for buying them. So you've got linksforyou.com, you've got getmelinks.com, are the two ones that I would recommend you go to. But there's lots of other good suppliers out there, I'm sure of it. You know, it depends on where in the world you are. These guys can cater for most areas, but you know, if you're in Australia or something, then there might be a better vendor out there. But the parameters, as I said in the previous question, are I want websites that are not spammed to death, that do have traffic and rankings, that are, you know, getting good content and everything's growing and moving in the right direction all the time. What technique you use to index the pages fast? It's not something I try and force, to be honest, Tanish. You know, you've got a lot of people out there who use Omega Indexer and things like that, which is part of SEO Autopilot. But obviously, I think from the May update, there's been a slow kind of thing around indexing, and you know, people will suggest, you know, go and place stuff on your GMP listings, you know, put it out in social media. I think, you know, utilizing your social media, you know, as part of the process of releasing pages and blog posts or whatever it may be, is a great way. I think social media is your best bet to get things indexed relatively quickly alongside the normal indexing tools. But I know some of the indexing tools are a bit temperamental and don't always work. But I think having you know, that stuff go out in social media and potentially an IFTTT loop will certainly help things very quickly. But it's not something I try and force too much. You know, I've just got my own process and put it out in social media, and it gets indexed when it gets indexed. Usman Bhatti, for affiliate marketing, if Amazon, Walmart, and other commercial sites are ranking for on a specific keyword, what should I assume that it is less competition or more easy to rank for me as a newbie? You probably could make that assumption. You know, these guys don't go after those kind of specific keywords, you know, outright. So if I was to see those websites ranking, I would probably consider it to be low competition. And it's something that you probably can get your teeth into and see what happens from there. So yeah, I would take it as it's easy to rank. 10 minutes left, guys. Do make sure you do give me a wee like and a subscribe, and still keep your questions coming because I've only got 3 or 4 left. What diagrams do you like to use when powering up guest posts with SEO Autopilot? It really comes down to your, you know, what you want to do with it. You know, I've got a couple of custom made ones because I know Elias. But in terms of, you know, it comes down, obviously they tell you, is it going to be a medium or a tough keyword or whatever it's going to be. And I would tend to use the diagrams that are on there. You know, you've got the Hercules one, which works really well, but which ones are the best to use for any given article is going to be different, because I've not worked in every niche with every level of competition. So what I tend to do out with the custom made ones, and my custom made ones are more for videos, because I didn't want to give them an 18-hour blast on SEO Autopilot. But there's a lot of good diagrams already on there that the guys use, and these guys actually use these in the money website. So you've got the Hercules, the Hydra, the Medusa are the kind of 3 main ones. And you've also got the Respect My Authority diagram, where if you use that blast, each URL will get at least 100 referring domains, which is what you want to do. But if you want something, you know, a bit more customized to suit your needs, you know, reach out to Elias and see if that's something he can help you with. Hi, Sassy Kumar, good to see you. Syeed Zeehan, how do you decide how much to pay for a link? A link's what you will pay for it. You know, I think most links will probably cost you anything between $100 and you know, maybe $300. Anything more, you would have to do a bit more research on, you know, higher profile links. But you know, links are based on the metrics and everything else and the power that they're going to pass, and it's up to you to decide whether that's good value for money or not. You know, I look at what other people are selling them for as well, and I'll also use things like people per hour. So if a guy tries to sell me a link, one of the first things I do is go to people per hour and see if it's for sale on there and what the guys are selling it for on there. Because what you find is a lot of guys will sell other guys' links and they're just a middleman. And before you know it, you're paying twice as much for a link than you would be if you just reached out to the guy yourself. So as a ballpark figure, you know, between $100 and $300, depending whether that's a low, you know, a DR30 right up to a DR60. You shouldn't be paying that much more than that unless it's entrepreneur or something massive like that. Tech Loot, what's my monthly revenue? Not a lot. I don't earn a lot. I go for the lifestyle choice, so I earn enough to have a good life. And that's Josh McAdams, people per hour. People per hour is the website. And if you just go to the search bar, stick in guest posts, you will see that there is a whole bunch of guest post opportunities on there. Raoul, how do you manage outreach campaign? I've actually got a video for that on my YouTube channel, but I personally don't manage it at all. It's something someone in the office does. They use Pitchbox. But you can use other models such as Mailshake and various other bits and bobs as well. So it really comes down to you, how much you're going to be doing, what your budget is and all that, and if you're going to be doing it on a regular, ongoing basis. Yes, Tech Loot, there's only 15 likes to say like to the live, so please do give us a little like, subscribe, and everything else. There's a lot of people watching. No problem, Josh. Kinga Koenka is saying links cost between 80 and 700 and even more. They do cost that. I certainly wouldn't be paying £700 for it, but you can pay through the nose for links. Kevin Woodbury, if you bought a recently expired domain with good quality inbound links and you 301 those to the relevant pages in your main domain, would you then spend time contacting the link owners to update the link from the old to the new domain? You potentially could do that, Kevin, but I think it, you know, the response rate and stuff, it's a tedious job. I think just doing the 301 redirect is what most people do. They don't actually then go and reach out. Now, of course, you're going to drop some power by doing a 301 redirect. So in a perfect world, what you're saying would make sense. But is it going to be worth the time and effort of implementing that over the how much power that is actually going to give you in addition to what you've done is what I'd be asking myself. And to my knowledge, I don't know anyone else who does that as part of their strategy. They'll just buy another expired domain name and do the same again. Hopefully that answers that question. Maninder Singh, which software is best to analyze competitor citations? Citations, I mean, you can just use a backlink analyzer, you know, whether you've got SEMrush, Ahrefs, or whatever. But in terms of citations, I tend to use SEObuilder.com, which is a guy who can also build the citations for you. He can do a full citation audit and all of that kind of stuff as well. So he is the man to go to for citations. TechLoot, I've started freelancing in ecom. What's the charge for 30 products ecom site? It's a hard one when, you know, with that. You could charge 500 quid. You could charge somebody else £2,000 for that. It really comes down to what people are prepared to pay. You don't want to undersell yourself either. You know, it depends on what you're doing on those 30 products. Are you optimizing them and all that kind of stuff? And at the end of the day, no one can tell you what you're entitled to for that amount of work. But what I would always say is try and remain competitive and try and remain, you know, don't price yourself out of the market because, you know, it could lead to other work or whatever. So just, I think, you know, if you're doing it and it takes you 40 hours, then charge 40 hours what your hourly rate is, and that's the price. You know, I think sometimes people pay for quality or those little extras, and they don't always want to scrimp and scrape on price. So it is really a difficult one. As a freelancer, sometimes you charge too little, and you're like, I could have got a lot more for that as well. So don't undersell yourself. Check what the market are charging for that. I don't really sell web designs as such. So I'm not too familiar with the price for that, but you know, it's one of those things where don't undersell yourself either, because it could be a really good job you're doing, and because you're a freelancer doesn't mean you should be paid any less. So value your time and charge a good rate. And thank you very much, Andy. A pint would be good. Actually dying for a pint. I could do one now. Raul, thank you for the AMA. TechLoot answered that one. How to make a live video. I'm using StreamYard. All you need is a video, some lights, a camera, some lights, a nice mic, and you can make a live video, no problem at all. I stream through StreamYard, which puts it out to 5 different platforms for me. But yeah, hopefully that helps you as well. But that is pretty much us out of time. But thank you everyone for your questions, and hopefully you found value from this session. And I will be back again next week to do more. So thank you very much, guys. Cheers.